What is up, YouTube? I am out on the road on a 2013 KTM 500 EXC. This is my buddy's bike. So he's letting me ride it because I actually got an offer for my FZ09 to trade straight up for a 2015, which is very, very similar. Very similar all around. The only thing that's not similar is that my friend, his front wheel's a little bent, so the vibration that speed's a little more than normal, even with the tires that are on it. So I'm going 56 right now. It's not too bad, but whenever you get above 60, 65, it's definitely vibey. I took it down a road. It was down like a driveway. I didn't realize it was a driveway. I thought it was just a dirt road, but it went down there a little bit. Got a little bit of off-road on there, but man, this thing is so fun. Some first impressions, there's a lot of torque, so it's a different kind of torque. It's got a lot of low-end grunt being a 500. It's also tall. I thought my FZ09 was tall. Man, this thing is tall. So I'm about 6 foot, 6'1", and it's very tall. So I can't flat foot this bike. Another thing I immediately notice is how light it is. Holy cow, this thing feels like a mountain bike. Let's just go down this little street here. I'm just close to my buddy's house. I don't really know what's around here. I've kind of been scoping for some dirt roads, but you know, I don't want to trespass on anybody's property there. So there's definitely a ton of torque, plenty of power. I mean, it is a 500. You know, it's not going to have the type of power that my FZ09 has, but off-road, just a little bit that I did just down that driveway and back, there was, I mean, it didn't really look like a driveway. It looked almost like a double track that was washed out and sandy and muddy a little bit. So man, this thing cooks. It's got so much power on the dirt, and I know these aren't ideal off-road tires that are on here, but very cool. It felt great. So yeah, I mean, this thing's, it feels so light. I mean, it's just at the flick, you know, even at these speeds, I understand. I kind of, you know, everybody said that it would be a real light feeling bike compared to a traditional street bike. You know, these bikes weigh dry wet weights. It's kind of hard to gauge, but the KTMs are about the lightest of the group for enduro bikes. And you know, I want to say they're like 240 pounds dry or something. You add some gas, 2.3 gallon tank. So yeah, these things don't weigh anything. I mean, you can manipulate them and move them around very easy. You know, there's not much to it. So the bike I'm looking at is almost identical to this. It does have a few more miles on it. It's mostly been street ridden. The bike has 4,500 miles on it and 125 hours. So you put those miles and hours together, and it's pretty much been street ridden most of its life. It also comes with a set of Supermoto wheels as well as the original dirt tires, which is awesome. And no outlet. I like it. I'm gonna go straight. So I stopped right here. You can see I can go 1 foot, but I cannot I can't flat foot this bike. So usually it's kind of a little shift to the hip and put the ball of my foot down. So yeah, but I mean, it makes sense. The KTMs are notoriously a little taller. I say KTM, it's KTM and Husky these days, of course. They're very, very similar bikes. They're a little bit taller than some of the others, like the Beta that I was looking at. You know, I still got a sweet spot for the Beta, but going through the pain of selling my bike and then turning around and buying a KTM and going through that process versus just finding somebody that wants to trade straight up, I think it's a pretty good deal overall. You know, the Supermoto wheels add some value. They definitely have their place for the times that I really want to do some street riding, but I don't you know, with the Supermoto wheels, I would have that luxury of just doing that. Oh, pavement ends, no problemo. What do we got here? So it really just looks like a house down here, so I'm going to turn around. I don't really want to trespass on anybody's property. I'm not sure the gearing on this bike, whether it's stock gearing still. My guess is yes. But man, this thing, absolute blast off-road. I mean, just that little bit is just so exciting. Maybe it's because I haven't ridden off-road in so long, but very, very cool. I'm looking for the dirt, you know, especially with the bent rim up front. My buddy said ride it, it's fine. But you know, I don't want to, you know, with this bike, it's at home off-road. Obviously Supermoto wheels would smooth everything out and all that. They're a little heavier, but man, this thing is fun. You know, these bikes, everybody rants and raves about them, and now I see why. Absolutely see why. So I guess I'll go ahead and address it while I have a little bit of time just cruising on road, is selling the FZ09, something I said I would not do, right? So how did I come to this conclusion of that idea, or why do I even think it's a good idea to do? So for those of you that don't know, I live in North Carolina, and not the nice twisty part. I live in flat, no turns North Carolina, and you could probably tell by my videos that I've done. I mean, it's absolutely it's just non-stop straight roads. You know, there's very little turns overall, so it's not exactly conducive to a sport bike or a naked, hyper naked like the FZ09. So, you know, the bug has had me for a while to do dual sporting, or to ride off-road. And I say dual sport, this is a dual sport motorcycle, but it's really an enduro race bred bike for the road. So it just barely qualifies as a street bike realistically, even though it is 100% 50 state street legal. So I said I would never sell the FZ09, but you know, the realization has come that having 3 motorcycles in my garage, it gets to be a lot, right? And it's something that I addressed in another video of why, you know, if you can afford to have multiple motorcycles, that's the answer. Well, what I find myself doing on the street is just cruising around on my FZ09. You know, I may bring the front end up a little bit every now and again, but you know, when there's no twisties and all that around, you're just kind of chilling. I can do that on my wife's Shadow, you know, and we do that. I do it. I take my wife's bike out almost as much as I took the FZ09 out, and I have fun with it, and that's great. So having a bike, you know, 2 bikes in the garage, a full-blown cruiser, and then an enduro bike that I can street with Supermoto wheels or do off-road, I think is a pretty good compromise. So that's pretty much where I'm at with it. I mean, I don't like selling my FZ09. It's not something that I really intended on doing. But when you start looking at really capable on and off-road bikes that don't have like 30 horsepower, you start getting into some money. We all know what KTM's cost. I've reviewed it in one of my other videos. So, I mean, you can either drop that money on a third bike, and I absolutely hate financing motorcycles. It's something I do not want to do. So with that comes the trade-off. But yeah, this thing is absolutely awesome. It's a blast. I think this is my street. Is it my street? It is. This thing is an absolute blast. And I think I'm going to do it if the guy is still into trading straight up. Again, this is not the bike that I will have, but it is a 2015, but they're virtually identical. A few changes here and there, but very cool. I'm highly considering it. So the one thing I don't like is the hours and miles on it. that's just something that I still have to compete with. But alright, well, I'm back. So until next time, adios amigos.